Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Strategy Game Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Shippey, and today we're going to be unpacking one of the weeds in the way. This is a series in my book, Seen, Known, and Heard, that I really talk about. And it was part of my journey too, just exploring what it looks like to see, hear, and know others, what can potentially get in the way of us seeing and hearing and knowing others, and discovering this series of things like bitterness, resentment, unforgiveness, control, anger that can really block us from seeing others, seeing ourselves, and moving forward in greater freedom in our lives and our businesses and our movement. So this one is all about anger. And I'm sure that we all experience anger. In fact, I love this stat. It said 84% of people surveyed said Americans are angrier today than compared with a generation ago. I don't love this stat, but I think it's really powerful in terms of us thinking about anger and how it has escalated in the last generation, right? I mean, the world was full of issues then, but if you think about the introduction of digital communication, I mean, now we're at a whole new level, right? We're at next level of really being able to scroll through and look at facts and snippets here and there. And so we catch kind of glimpses of information, and then our brain is moving so fast that we don't even have time to accurately process that information or apply critical thinking or depth or nuance to that information in general. And so every day we are like this top that's being spun faster and faster and faster. And at some point, that has to stop. Like that has to break for us to be able to rebuild in an effective way and be able to process and manage our anger. And what has been a game changer for me personally when thinking about anger is a good friend and counselor, and she's been on this podcast before, Linda Tonneson. She really talks about the emotions and what they represent and what they need. And anger, me learning that anger is not a bad thing, completely shifted my mindset about anger, because I think it's really easy to think about anger being something that is a negative, but it's actually not negative. It's a positive. Like it can tell you that you need something, that you need change in a situation. And that alone, I feel like, is such a powerful thought. So just take a minute and I want you to think about how you view anger in your life. Is it something that is a detriment to you, that you try to push away or push down because you think that it's bad, that you shouldn't have it? And then I want you to think about what would happen if you reframed your view of anger. So what if you actually started thinking of it as an advantage, as something that signals you that something is off, that you need to get change in some area of your life? And then think about, well, how can you do that? Then you can become a solutionary. Then you can become a problem solver with your own anger. And that is so powerful because that shifts us from being on the defense in life, like what's going to come at me, how, like, I'm going to get angry, to being on the offense. Oh, okay. I recognize that anger is popping up for me. Where is it coming from? Like, what's the trigger? What change do I need? Okay, what change can I get for myself? Maybe it's setting a boundary. Maybe it is like, if it's, in the digital space, maybe it's muting someone for a while, or, just thinking about how you can communicate with that person in a different way, or whatever you need to do to protect your mind. I think, especially in this season, in this climate that we're in, is essential. Like you have to protect your clarity of mind and your peace of mind. Those are honestly the most important things that you could do for yourself right now in the world that we're living in. And so I want you to think about like that analogy of the top spinning so fast that you just can't even have a moment to think. So the top spinning really fast is all the information coming at you every day. So it's all of your social media accounts you're checking, all of your news, all of your podcasts that you're taking in, and then in your relationships, all the texts that you're getting, all the calls that you're getting, all the emails that you're getting, all of the face-to-face communications that you're having every day, from the hello to your family, or like the let's get breakfast logistics, or the, whatever that looks like for you. And then your workplace environment. So, who you're interacting with every day, and all the words that you're having to speak, your brain is having to think all of these things before you're doing them. I mean, just take a minute and think about that alone. It is exhausting. We're moving at the speed of light, and it can't continue on this way. And so there's really been a movement, I think, since COVID, to kind of slow down, and a little bit of like, hey, remember to breathe throughout the day. A lot of people have started this kind of trajectory to slow a little bit, to become a little bit more intentional. But what I'm saying is, like, this is really like a war on our time. This is a war on our minds. And all of these things can be distractions. And it varies by person. And so that's why in this season, it's so important to take an account of your inputs and be intentional about how you're going to manage them, because all of these inputs can stir up more anger more easily. So when we look at that stat, right, and we think about a generation ago, well, the world was completely different a generation ago. We didn't have all these things coming at us all the time. So, anger can be stirred by things that are, if we've got darts coming at us all day, if you think of darts as communications, news feeds, all the information we're taking in, we don't even have time to like process things at all. So, but we do have a choice, right? We do have a choice of how we engage, what information we engage with, what we take in. And so this really gives us, like, I would just want this podcast to be a space, like a platform where you can kind of almost take a time out and think about, okay, what's causing my anger? Like, what's stirring up my anger? And what do I need to do to eliminate it? So I think there's situations. I want you to think of this in like 2 layers. So the first layer is the actual situations that trigger us to get angry. For example, say it's like certain voices online, right? They're public voices that just trigger you to no end, and it makes you really mad, right? That's kind of like our from a distance kind of triggers. And then there's like family, friend dynamics, like situations, people that are in our lives that we notice at certain points, like really make us angry or trigger us, right? So we've got like those interpersonal dynamics. And then we've got like the top spinning at the same time, simultaneously. So we've got like all these things, all this information, and that's making us move faster. And then that's transferring into the things that are setting us off. So we've got to tackle this from both angles to get change, to get the change and the solutions that we need. So we have to think about, like, even just make a simple list of what relationship dynamics from even like afar or influencer or online are triggering you, and personal, like what's triggering you. Just make like a list. It can even be like one word responses or names, right? And then I want you to think about the top spinning. What can you do to slow that down? Like, what you can fast, like you can take a break from social media or news feeds or certain podcasts, like catch the top, stop it for a little while and figure out what you want to change or what you want to shift. And I promise you, doing these 2 things alone will transform the way that you can handle anger. And I think it's so important right now, because I think it can be like the root of a lot of our responses. So like anger can be the root of, bitterness, resentment. Those are like anger building up over time. Control, like reaching for control, in order to prevent things from happening, right? That make us angry or upset if we're trying to push down that emotion of anger. And so all these things, sometimes feel out of control, but it's great to remember that we actually do have a part to play in this, and we can play a part in it. So remember those two actions today as you come away from this episode. Anger is not bad. You can get change and tackle it from a, like, what are the voices in my life perspective that are triggering me right now? Like, make that list. And then what is the top spinning and how can I stop it from spinning? How can I reduce my input so that I can get clarity of mind and peace of mind? Those are the most important things right now. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave us a review if it was good for you. As always, if you want more, head to www.storywork.co and we'll talk to you soon.